Alright, so welcome back to episode 2. We're doing another race review. This is basically the same race as last time, but basically what we're doing now is we're going to review the main, whereas the last video we were doing the heat. Difference between the heat and the main primarily is that the main is a little bit longer, and most importantly, the main actually counts for points. The heat is like if you guys watch Formula 1, the heat is like a sprint qualifying. It doesn't really count for anything other than to determine your position for the main. So we're in the pits right now. I'm going to cut through this again because really, we're going to talk about tire scrubbing as if I'm Ryan Norberg, but it really still was pretty cold. It was actually colder in the main than it was in the heat, so we had to warm up our tires even more, and we actually went up with the pressures as well. So that was, it's cold. It's like in Canada, except not as bad. So we're lining up in second place for the main, as was we finished second in the heat. So we're just coming around the bull ring right now. You can see the sun is going down. There's quite a bit of glare coming on there, but nothing that is too bad. We've got tinted visors for a reason. So now we're just going around the bull ring and ready to go. I always check my gas cap before I get started because I've had fuel leak on me during the race and it wasn't fun. So now it's just become a weird habit. So I'm on off pole. The driver number 8 on the right side, you can kind of see him right over my arm, is going. And he's already taken off before the punch cone, I might add. So if we really wanted to be nitpicking there, we would call that a jump start. Although I don't think that was called. So he's got a pretty good start, but I catch him right away. I react fast enough to get a good start, so it doesn't really make that much of a difference. You can see cold tires just sliding everywhere. But it's if I remember correctly, it's a 12-lap event. We went down the inside. Maybe we had a good exit out of 8. I'm not going to not take that position. Slot back in front. It's a long race, and we're here to just gap the rest of the field as much as we possibly can. It's cold. We're a little bit more used to it now, or more adept. I kind of thought about it a little bit more in planning. And so right now when we're going through here, I'm fully aware it's going to be sliding, being a lot more cautious. We're taking a wider line through that corner through turn 1, and then again through turn 5, just being a little bit more careful and being aware of these conditions as the temperatures start to drop. In fact, in this main event, it was actually getting colder as well, and it's already about 10 degrees colder than our heat was, which you don't think would make much of a difference, but it definitely does make much of a difference in handling. We've got a yellow flag there for the number 23 driver. If I remember correctly, either his chain came off or his motor mount came loose, or something drivetrain related issue. Unfortunately, out of the race, he was in contention for second in the championship, and that happening definitely did not help his chances. He's going to have an uphill battle if he still wants to secure second in the championship at this point. We are 6 races into the championship, so that's going to be tough for him to do. But not that it's impossible. I've had comebacks like that before where I've gone from way back and I've still gotten quite a bit of a good result. So it really depends on the driver and their mentality and how badly they want it at the end of the day. Because none of us here, when you get to a certain level in karting, you get your equipment up to a certain standard. There's nothing really that you can do that your other opponents can't do. It's not like Formula 1 where if you have a really good go-kart, you're miles ahead of the rest. There's no such thing as a go-kart that's miles ahead of all the other go-karts. So everyone kind of gets up to a standard of driving ability and skill and having their kart at a rapid pace, and then it just comes down to consistency and working on those little tiny details every single day that will take you from being a tenth faster than someone but still destroying them in a race because, sorry, if you're a tenth slower than them, you can still beat them in a race just because you're set up better and you have a better approach and a better mentality. You've gone for better tire pressures. You've thought more strategically. So, and of course better driving skills, which we'll see later on in the race kind of bites me in the ass, but So yeah, we're just kind of running through this race. Not too much happening here. We are, leading the field and doing it quite calmly, just hitting my marks, getting right up on the exit there, letting it run out, preventing it from bogging down for the most part out of turn 8 is crucial to having a good exit. And then, of course, it does get a little bit colder. The air is a little bit denser, so you do have better engine performance. But that's definitely balanced out by having less grip. Nice apex on off camber right there. Hit that one beautifully, letting it wheel itself out. Just kind of. The big thing with 206 is it's not necessarily corner exits and throttle application are important, but what's most important coming out of the corner is making sure you don't bog it down. Because what will happen is you'll be floored on the gas, but because of the forces going through sideways through the frame and the chassis, you'll actually have a slower acceleration just because everything is wound up really tight. So you got to straighten it out in order to get that better acceleration, which is a huge thing in 206. I mean, in other karting classes it makes a difference as well, but it's not nearly as much of a difference in 206, which is kind of why 206 is often considered a great place for people to start racing, is because it shows you those principles of the physics and the dynamics of how a kart actually works, and then it's sort of a baseline. It's like learning your addition and subtraction before you start division and multiplication, and getting really into calculus and all that. You kind of need to have a certain basic understanding before you can start piling up additional skill sets on top of it. So again, coming to Daytona, we're just running those laps, hitting our marks, and this is the kind of thing where getting good practice comes in handy. There's always someone behind you, there's always someone pressuring you, someone could always dive bomb you. Of course, if you know the driver behind you, you know, and especially in cases like this, we're not going to be fighting it out because it's the beginning of the race, and if P1 and P2 have a good race, they're not going to want to fight, because if they're going to build a gap to third and fourth, they can essentially secure a guaranteed first or second place win if they have a 2 to 3 second gap to third and fourth place. And so if they've got that 3 to 4 second gap and they don't fight, so they achieve that, then they can fight it out at the end of the race, not unlike he is here, and there is no threat from behind. So it's a little bit like an insurance policy that, especially in 206 where the draft is this important, is something that we do a lot. If someone doesn't do that, you tend to consider them a little bit of an idiot, if not a big idiot. But yeah, you can kind of see slip and slide in there a little bit more. He may have gone out on a little bit lower tire pressures, or a lot. I do not know. But from the looks of it, it seems like he is on lower pressures, because while I'm warm and I'm gripped up relatively, he was sliding through 5. My speed through 5 was a lot better. And in general, we're just running a little bit quicker. And he was kind of tagging along in the draft. And again, take a lot of speed on that entry, but then we close him right on the exit with a better exit. So that's a difference in racing styles and lines, and you can spend hours arguing which is better. I'm sure people have different ones are better for different different scenarios in general. So that definitely is an important thing to consider, but we don't need to go down that rabbit hole right now. So we're gonna take this position back because we're getting towards the end of the race. I have no interest in being in second place at the end of the race, especially when we're getting there are actually other drivers behind the two of us. So at this point, we're going to start being a little bit defensive and placing our kart strategically so that it makes it much more difficult for anyone to overtake us. Now, turn 1 is not an overtaking spot, so we don't have to worry about that. Turn 5 definitely is. That's how I got past the heat. So we're going to not quite go all the way over to the right when we enter that corner. Take a normal line through 7, the S's, because, well, it's normal, you know, you really have to screw up 5 to get past in the S's. I've passed people in the S's a lot. And we're already kind of moving a little bit early for that kink, and we're gonna make it so that no one can really get down the inside of Daytona. You have to remember that with me with this VLR, I'm very vulnerable in Daytona, and so here in off-camber, you know, someone could have dive bombed that, definitely, but it wouldn't have stuck. If someone went to the inside, they'd have to slow it down a ridiculous amount in order to keep that. So we have to think of that strategically. What can be done on every corner, and how can we accurately prevent any overtaking moves from happening? Now, this is the one mistake I made all race. And we're actually 3 wide right here, coming out of this corner. The driver in the middle of me and the number 8 driver bogs down a little bit, so we are now 2 wide, and then he gets pushed by the number 39 driver, and since they are in a longer gear and they're going to go by me, and there's nothing really that I could do there, unfortunately, and that was why I did not win the race. So you live and learn. There's definitely an opportunity to better defend that turn 8 corner, and that's the one thing that I could have, should have, would have, you know, do that differently. Definitely would have made a difference. But all in all, it was a very good race, very good pace. So I was pretty happy with that. And considering the guys who finished ahead of me weren't directly competing with me in the championship, it's not a significant loss. So we were pretty happy about that.
Well, I was defending, obviously. Definitely very impressive. Oh my God, Matthew.
And of course, everyone was pretty happy with that result in general. So, anyway, hope that was helpful to you. And I'm actually off to the track right now. I'm going to go practice for the next race. So, hopefully I'll see you around next time.